Right, okay, should be live now. Perfect, we are in. Good to go. Good evening if you're coming in. Sue, how are we doing? We are in the house. Sue, Julie, give me a hello if you are coming in. Good evening, Steffi. How are we doing? Great questions tonight, as ever. Let me know your biggest win so far today. Your biggest win so far today. What's been the best part of your day? Because even the worst day has a best part. Don't forget that. Great questions as always today. From calories to do I count, do I not? Great work with everyone who's sat down and actually taken the time to look at where you're at right now. Most people wouldn't bother doing that. The food, fitness, focus, checking in, where are you at right now? What's working, what's not working? You take a step back to take a step forward. So important. Good evening, Julie, Sandra. Just gonna tag everyone in it, make sure we're in the house. Karen, how are we feeling? How's the glutes? How's the bum? Nancy, Jackie, Nancy, Karen in the house. Jill, Nancy, not Nancy, Nancy. Margaret, Jackie, great questions, as always. Good to ask lots of questions. Right, let's rock and roll. Let's get this show on road, as they say in Yorkshire. Right, where are we? Okay, let's get everyone in the house. So let me know, biggest win so far this week. Biggest win so far this week. Did the task and 2 workouts, perfect. No snacking yet today, Sue, love it. Biggest was doing the exercise this morning, yeah. The fastest way to change the way you feel is to action your way out of it. Like, no matter what anyone says. I know it sounds really obvious perhaps, but when you actioning your way out of it, like trying to think your way out of it, when I'm more motivated, shall I do it today, shall I not? It's exhausting. So, let me just add this in so that people can watch on replay as well. Otherwise, we'll be lost forever. Okay, let's rock and roll. Love it. Love hearing the wins, by the way. And well done on still being here. Natasha, biggest wins, 2 workouts and 1 hour dog walk. Love it. Good work. So day 1 live. Double class at Chloe this morning. Love it, Sandra. Sarah, good evening. Right, let's rock and roll. I think we're ready, aren't we? So let's get these questions in and up. If you've got any questions tonight, by the way, feel free to put them in there, but of course I'm just gonna start at the start. Great, Anna, fitting in the 8-minute workout whilst cooking dinner for the body blast. Love that. That is great work. And how do you feel after? I'll be honest today, I'm gonna throw this out there now. I went for a run this morning, could not be bothered. Really couldn't be bothered. I hate running, but I know I need to do it. I know I need to, just lost connection. Now we're back in. I felt so much better after I did it, even though I hate running. Right, good evening, Anna. Good evening, Susan. Margaret, day 1 complete, double class with Chloe this morning. Perfect. Right, let's rock and roll. So, right, let's go. So I'm just gonna get these questions up now. Like I said, if you've got any questions, do put them down below and I will get to them. And let's remember to go. Okay, let's get it up. First question on here. Let's go. Okay, I'm just getting these questions up now. Okay. Right. Finally. Good evening, Mary. Right. So, first question on here. Thanks for the session today. Good. That's just a win. I feel more motivated already. That's another win. Like that. That's not a question. That's 2 questions done already. Okay. What alternatives are there that would be better to eat when I feel like something sweet like chocolate? Perfect. Good question, Ella. I'm going to go with that one just as I'm getting these up. It's taking a while to load. So if you are looking for something alternative and feel like something sweet, so you've got to think firstly that that's a habit, right? To get something sweet. I'd consider, number 1, when do you have it? Like when does this normally happen? Is it evening? Is it lunchtime? And how are you feeling at this time? How do you feel at this time? Are you bored, procrastinating, tired, stressed, hungry? And actually take a step back sometimes, and I'm going to answer this from so many different areas here that I just want you to write down like one thing and take from it. But there's a few questions that I'd ask you, which is number one, what habit do you want to change? So do you actually want to change that and go for an alternative, or do you just don't really feel like you need anything? Number one. And I'll come to the alternatives in a second, but so let's say you want to stop picking on something sweet. That's the habit we want to change. Number two would be, what benefits do I get from snacking on something sweet? Does it allow me to procrastinate a little bit? Does it mean that I'm not doing the thing that I'm stressing about and I'm doing that instead? Is it temporary relief from something I'm stressing about? Like, what are the benefits? There must be a lot of benefits from doing it, otherwise we wouldn't do it. Everything we do for a benefit. Then you flip it and say, what's the drawbacks of this? What are the drawbacks of snacking on something sweet? Well, I consume more calories. I don't lose the weight I want to lose. I feel a bit rubbish. I'm then a bit grouchy. I then blame kids, family, friends, whatever, for not allowing me time for me, for getting in the way, not allowing, feeling stressed, feeling tired. We then maybe sleep a bit worse. Then we get ill a little bit more often because we're not sleeping as well. Then we're annoyed we can't do our training. Then this can just snowball, like when you write down these. And what we're doing here is putting our attention on where we want to be long term. So we're thinking long-term gratification versus short-term gratification. And that's why habits are so hard to change, because when you have something sweet, the feedback you get instantly is quite positive, isn't it? Like, really, tastes quite good, it's temporary relief, it's a distraction from maybe something you're stressing about. But when you're trying to do quote unquote healthier habits, the reasons it can be so hard sometimes is because you don't get any feedback for like months down the line, even a year, when you meet someone you hadn't seen in a while, goes, you're looking great. And you're like, oh, I haven't seen that. Because even we know what we're like. Like we could have got all the results. We're fitter, we're stronger, we're wearing smaller clothes, we're healthier, we're into these habits. And it's like, yeah, but I should be doing more. I still feel a bit rubbish. And this is what people say to me. I still feel a bit fat. Still feel like I'm just that old slob. Like, people say that to me all the time. And that's why I'm sharing this. So if you have those thoughts, don't beat yourself up about it. And then finally, going on to this, hey Teresa, hey Carol, hey Karen, Vicky, Sally, Rebecca. Finally, how can I make this habit invisible? How can I make it easy to change? And this is where the alternatives come in. So number one, you could get those sweet things out of the house. It's not always doable, I get it. Number two, put them in a very inconvenient place. So for example, I give this example all the time. Sometimes I've got to charge my car and I can't be bothered. Sounds really lazy, but I'm just saying it. You know, I have lazy tendencies too. There you go. Someone says to me all the time, I'm just lazy, Nat. And I go, what do you mean? You just come from work and you've come straight from here to meet me to chat about your nutrition and food. That's far from lazy. You've just shown up on a Q&A at 8 p.m. to talk about nutrition and food and answer your questions. That's far from lazy. What the hell is even lazy? Anyway, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, can I be bothered to walk downstairs, get outside in the cold, plug it in, yeah. And then it's like, I'm just making it inconvenient. That's why. So can you put it downstairs outside in your car, in the boot of your car at a night like tonight, or like a cold night? It's just not desirable. Not desirable at all. Next part. What can I have instead? What's an alternative? So if your alternative is something sweet, I'd say I love like frozen mango, maybe with some Greek yogurt. It gives you that sweetness. It's cold, quite very sweet, indulgent, filling, but also nutritious. Lots of fruit. You can make maybe something like a smoothie is quite good. You know, it's going to be, you could add some protein powder to it, some berries in there, cocoa powder, whatever. Cool thing about protein powder is it might be flavored anyway. So you can make a smoothie, something quite refreshing, sweet on there. In terms of like more identical alternatives, if you like, maybe some dark chocolate or even a portion of something you want already. Tomorrow in the nutrition plan, we talk about this all the time, but it's like factoring in food, snacks, that you want to have into your diet already. So you could say my snacks today, up to say, you might say 200 calories or 300 calories of anything I want. They're going to be my snacks. My meals are going to be lean protein, lots of veggies, bit of carb in there, bit of like 80-20 rule, 80% wholesome foods, nutritious foods. It's going to keep me fuller for longer. It's going to help me get stronger. It's going to help my bone density. It's going to help my mood. It's going to help my energy. It's going to help my recovery from exercise. It's going to help my joints, my cholesterol. It's all going to improve. Mediterranean style diet. I'm going to apply that. And that's why we want to apply it. But I allow myself 200-300 calories that I plan in of any foods I want. And this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow in a bit more detail. Jill, I put chocolate in the glove box in my neighbour's car. I've only ever asked her once to get it. That's so funny. I wonder if it's still in there, Jill, or if your neighbour's had it. And your neighbour's actually on this call going, I can't stop eating the chocolate in my glove box. That'd be a story, wouldn't it? Yeah. I wonder if that's actually going on right now. We don't even know about it. Jill, if you could ask your neighbour, ask your neighbour and see what she does. She'll be like, oh my God, Jill's just asked for a chocolate and I've just eaten it all. What do I do? I've replaced chocolate with a couple of dates in the evening. Yeah, great. And people often ask, this is probably a question I haven't been through, well, is dried fruit okay? And I always say, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Like, if something's good or bad, it's always worth asking what's the alternative. Like, if you'd normally have a chocolate bar, guess what? A protein bar, great step in the right direction. You're gonna get at least some protein in there. If you would normally have, I don't know, an apple, now you're like, oh, I now have a 200 calorie protein bar. Well, yeah, you've got some protein in, but you've just like doubled your calories. So it's like, what's going to be right for you here? Another alternative, Ella, would be, I sometimes do it with my kids, is we buy like kefir frozen yogurt. So I can't remember what brand, is it just kefir brand, Yo Valley, something like that? They do a frozen yogurt now. So it's essentially like ice cream, but it's actually kefir, basically like frozen Greek yogurt, really. So frozen Greek yogurt's fine as well. They don't know the difference between ice cream and frozen Greek yogurt. So it's like win-win. Sometimes have that with some berries, something like that. Don't have to have a big portion. It hits the sweet tooth. Good to go. So things like that can be quite good. Obviously, like I said, dark chocolate. I've actually got a hot chocolate here, by the way. So if you want something sweet, here's my varieties of the sweet here. So number one, if I'm not really fancying something too sweet, is cocoa, some milk, make it into a paste, cinnamon, hot water, good to go. Sometimes I add some vanilla flavouring or orange flavouring in, so it's like a chocolate orange. If I make it with the kids, because they know that's not true hot chocolate, but they do like when I do, so I do hot water, a little bit, cocoa, cinnamon, honey, make a paste, fill the rest up with milk, put it in the microwave to warm it up, and then it's nice, sweet, creamy from the milk as well. Plus, great research on milk and sleep and recovery, protein. You get magnesium in there as well, which can also help with sleep from the milk, from dairy. Good old wives' tale, isn't it? We went to a menopause conference as a team at Fruity Fit earlier in the year. One of the researchers is talking about is like milk before bed. Great protein, it's slow digesting, can also help in terms of recovery and muscle as well. Awesome, Katrina. Actually enjoyed the workout. Perfect. Good. So, also, just lastly on the alternatives, Ella, is I quite like, they were reduced the other day. They're like, they're wonky? No. They're these cans of drink, sparkling water with wonky fruit that would have been thrown out, and then they've infused them with that. Can't think what it's called. They're on Dragon's Den, I think. Quite nice, actually. A raspberry one. It was quite nice. It was a bit of a treat. I bought some for Mrs. Frucci, actually. I was like, they were dented and reduced, but that's another story. The thought was there. They're okay, but there's something a bit different. Sometimes just the fact of putting that in a nice glass and having that in an evening. Dash water, that's the one. Yeah, pretty good. All good, Maureen? You're here now. Annie, you don't drink milk. You could have soy milk instead if you want, or a milk alternative. Although milk alternatives don't contain the same protein, at least soy milk does contain protein. So, I know I've answered some of the questions on here. Hope that helped, Ella, by the way. Oh, awesome, good. With that question, Ella, I think I've answered like 3 questions, so that's really good. Kate, how to continue to eat well when days are busy and not much time to stop? I actually think, so here's the funny thing. Kate's asked how to continue to eat well when days are busy and not much time to stop. Someone else has basically asked, how do I eat well when I'm working from home and I'm kind of not busy? Really, I can keep taking breaks. And when you're busy, the key thing is to I would say, look at your day. When you eat, make sure you really enjoy it. And what I mean by that is you'll always enjoy your food more when you're hungry. Like, have you ever sat down and had an evening meal and it's like you're not hungry and you're just eating it? It could be the nicest meal ever. It's just not that enjoyable. Like, I remember there's been a few times where we've given the kids an early dinner. We're having like steak night later or something. And it's like with the kids' early dinner, you're picking at the kids' dinner, you get to your steak later on and you're just like, not even hungry. And it's like the most unenjoyable steak in the world when it should be like a nice treat. That's one of the things I do now. I make sure we always eat together. It's just one less challenge for me to think about finishing the kids' leftovers. Because I'm like, oh, it's just another thing to think about. And it wastes time, right? I have to cook 2 meals instead of 1. I prefer to just cook 1 meal, done. Whether we're eating at 4 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever. So how to continue to eat well when days are busy and not much time to stop? Look at your day when you've got that time. So if you know you're not going to be able to eat later, sometimes I'll just eat breakfast. I don't normally eat breakfast like that early, but if I can get some good nutrition in there, good to go. If it's not that often, just do what you have to do. Maybe have a few ready meals ready that are pretty good. Like, there's some pretty good options now, like balanced ready meals that, I'm not advocating ready meals all the time, but a lot of them, I look at the ingredients and I think, how have you managed to make that so portion controlled, good protein, done? And actually, we're so obsessed with being perfect here, but something has to give. If you're busy all the time, you don't have much time to stop. Yeah, you might want to cook everything from scratch, but actually, do you end up doing that on the busy days? Probably not. What do you end up doing? Grabbing rubbish food on the go, which costs 4 times the amount of a ready meal and contains way less nutrition than a ready meal. So it's always thinking, what's the alternative on that? Yeah, Cook Shop do a good job. They do, for sure. We had something from Cook the other day. We have a few, and we bought a paella the other week as well. They do some amazing paella, like ready to go. Yeah, so good. I eat breakfast on my way to work, which means toast. Any ideas healthy on the go? Yeah, so maybe like a protein shake or a shake on the go. They can be quite useful on there. Boiled eggs are really good. Even some yogurt before you go. Like, it doesn't take too long to have that. Even if you just allow yourself 5 minutes and you go, you know what, I'll have like some porridge or something like that, would be fine. And if you're on your way to work and you're kind of really in a rush, I would say, like, go back to, are you actually enjoying that food? And if the answer's no, maybe wait until you get to work or you get your first break and then have something that you really enjoy then. Like, you could save those calories and have like a nice breakfast a bit later on, actually sit down, enjoy it, rather than rushing around eating it. I know for me, like, that's one of the reasons I don't eat that much in the day, especially like morning time, and why I'm so satisfied with pretty bland food in the day. It's because I like to get stuff done in the day. I'm on the go, school runs, work, sessions. If I eat too much, I get a bit like relaxed, and it also eats into time where I'm thinking, school runs at that time, I've got to get as much as I can. And it sounds really odd, but I always think I can eat when the kids are here, chat to them when I'm there. So don't waste too much time eating in the day, because I can do that, or tidying up, because I can do that whilst messing around with the kids, speaking to the kids. Allows me to get that balance right between, I get it when you've got to do loads of stuff, but also you want to be present with the kids and stuff and spend time with them, do family stuff as well. That was a question that was further down as well about eating. Do you eat with your kids or not? And the answer is Yes, most of the time to save time. So yeah, I would go back on there, Nikki, to do you enjoy your food? And make sure you ask the question, can I enjoy my food more? By having it a bit at a later time when you can actually sit down and enjoy it. And that's why I have my main meal later on in the evening, because I can sit down and enjoy it a little bit better. Nikki, why can't I lose weight like I used to be able to? I used to cut down and move a bit more, pounds to fall off. Now I try to move more but have less energy and have to eat almost nothing to lose weight. But then I only have to go out once and put everything I lost back on. So firstly, consider on there, Nikki, the other Nikki, as we age, it does seem like from research that there's less room for error now. Okay, so as much as we can argue with it, there's less room for error as we age, specifically perimenopause, menopause. There's less room for error. So like if before you could get away a bit, like, you know, just eating a bit more than you could and still lose weight, now you might not be able to. You might be able to used to be able to get away with having a few more drinks on the weekend, a few more meals out. Now you can't quite get away with that. However, sometimes what we can change is our relationship with the scales. And I would say, if you go out once and put everything you lost that week back on, consider that what's your reaction to that? Because our reaction to that can sometimes be the issue. For example, let's say Monday to Saturday, you lose 2 pounds, you go out for a meal on Saturday night, it's going to be high in salt. No matter how best you choose, the job of the restaurant is to make sure you enjoy your food. They don't really care if they've ruined your diet, let's face it. They want you to have a good meal, and we want to have good food. So it's probably higher in salt. You might have eaten later than you normally would. You might have had a few drinks. You might have went to bed later. You might have not slept as long. You might have more food in your gut. You might have had a bit more butter than you could ever imagine that goes into like the most simple meal. It's like, why'd they use like 4 tablespoons of butter in this meal? You don't even notice. All of a sudden, like the calories like 4-fold of it. It's surprising, but you know, you have to just accept that sometimes. But what can happen is you get on the scales the next day and you're 4 pounds heavier. But a lot of that is water retention, just fluctuation. You've weighed yourself at a different time, out of routine. Chances are, if you just get back to doing what you normally do, that weight will come back off. But what we often do is go, oh, sod this. One day, it's not really worth it. Then we just eat, F it, sod it. And then all of a sudden, we don't get started again until Tuesday. We waste 3 days a week. That's like 50% of the week, nearly. And all of a sudden, 50% of the week, we're beating ourselves up, and then we try again, then we lose 2 pounds, and we're just constantly going in that cycle. And this is why I recommend 2 things. Number 1, either put the scales to one side, focus on doing the things you know you need to do. Increase your protein intake, as we'll go into tomorrow. Make sure you drink lots of water, get outside, get moving, get your steps in, get your resistance work in. Concentrate on that. Things will change over time. Get your head down for maybe 4 weeks, 8 weeks, then step on the scales and see where you're at from there. Or, option 2, weigh yourself every day. Add them all up, divide by 7. That's one measure. Then you can compare yourself week on week. Week 1 with week 2, week 2 with week 3, week 3 with week 4. If you have a menstrual cycle, you might want to factor that in as well. Week 1, week 1, week 2, week 2, month on month. Have a little comparison of that. Then you can make a better informed decision. If you track your calories as well, you could do a similar thing. Track your calories, nothing's changed, fine, that's great feedback. Do you need to increase your protein intake, as we'll go into tomorrow? Do you need to, maybe, the harsh truth is we're not in a calorie deficit. If you've honestly been consistent for 4 weeks of what you're doing and not seen any change, and you can say, I haven't had many effort moments, sod it, I've just been consistent, head down and gone, you haven't seen much change, don't beat yourself up for that. That just means that you're just not in a calorie deficit. That's okay. What can we do? Right, can we increase our protein intake? Can we go for a bit more, increase our steps a little bit? Can we get another workout in here? Can we maybe reduce our carbohydrate or fats at a certain, maybe 1 meal a day? Make one change that you can make. It might be that at lunchtime you don't have carbs, or in the evening you don't have carbs, or if your family in the evening, like for me, I keep my carbs quite low in the day. That allows me flexibility in the evening, whatever we have to. Tonight we had pasta. Granted, we had red lentil pasta, so it's pretty high in fibre anyway, but it allows me a bit more flexibility to go, yeah, we're at what we have in tonight, fine. And also, you know, someone asked as well about kids and eating disorders and stuff like that. The balance between wanting kids to move more, eat healthily, but also not causing an eating disorder, which I totally get. And I'm like, it's a tricky one. But obviously one of the best things you can do is just be quite laid back around food and actually practice what we want them to do, right? So always having vegetables on the table, always you eating them as well. I'm not saying that solves everything, but at the same time, not kind of eating too differently to them, I think is a good thing to do, to display that actually, yeah, you're eating that balance, you're not putting foods on a pedestal. Obviously there's got to be a line somewhere. But when we put foods on a pedestal, that's where it becomes a little bit trickier for sure. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. So Annie, tell me more about increasing your protein intake. If you can increase your protein intake, it's going to potentially ramp up your metabolism a little bit. It's going to help your recovery, skin, hair, nails. It keeps you fuller for longer. Protein is also burns more calories to digest and absorb, whether that's lean proteins, beans, eggs, yogurt, dairy, protein shake, clear whey, which is a really good one. So like clear whey protein powders are quite good. I was speaking to someone earlier actually. They didn't want to change anything in their diet. I was like, it's fair enough, but they want results. And I said, you've got to do something. Like, you can't just expect different results from doing the same thing, right? So I was like, the most simple way, I just said, do you like squash? And they went, yeah, I like squash. Should I drink squash? I said, no, well, there's something called clear whey. And clear whey is essentially powder that's like squash. You add it to some water and it's got 20 grams of protein in. I said, just keep your meals the same. Increase your vegetables, add some protein in. That's our first step. You increase your protein intake, that helps blood sugar levels, that helps hunger. You're likely to have less cravings over time as well. It might even help your blood sugar spikes. Win-win for week one. The most simple way to increase your protein intake and potentially see some benefits quite rapidly. Hope that helps. Sandy, I'd welcome any advice, please, on how to get a good night's sleep. Average about 4 to 5 hours. Don't work anymore, so all that stress and anxiety gone, but still don't sleep for that 7 to 8 hours recommended. So firstly, Sandy, on Thursday, Wednesday? Thursday. Thursday is all about sleep. Okay? Lemon and lime is delicious, yes. Does that go with cutting carbs? Annie, yes, it does, yeah. Firstly, Thursday is, we cover sleep in a lot more detail. Is it Thursday? Hang on a minute. Anyway, Wednesday or Thursday, top of my head. We do cover sleep. I go through, in fact, things that you can apply straight away with that. My protein for the clear whey is what I'd recommend. So, something you can apply today straight away is don't stress about getting 7 to 8 hours sleep. Like, sometimes the stress about to get 7 to 8 hours sleep is more harming than just trying to sleep for when suits. Number 2, have a good sleep routine. Like, are you watching Q&As at 8:30 p.m. on a Monday night? If you are, maybe you want to keep doing that for tonight, but until Friday. But then after that, maybe don't do that so much. So what I would say is look at having a sleep routine. Make sure you have some blackout blinds. Have darkness in the room. Don't have caffeine after 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. if that impacts you. Make sure your room is quite cool. Have a bath before bed, magnesium. Maybe consider a supplement, something like magnesium, something like ZMA has some interesting research on. It's just zinc, magnesium, vitamin B6, which is interesting. And I was chatting to someone at the moment who's been struggling with sleep for a long time. They're like, I'll try it, has no side effects, and I'll just add it to the list of things that don't work for me. Like, she's been trying for ages, and she was like, I had the best night's sleep. It's only been like 2 days, so I'll follow up and let you know how she's doing actually. But there's a few things there, Sandy, that will hopefully help. Next question, on tough, lonely days, how do you keep motivated? Eating mainly, exercise I'm really enjoying. Cool. So go back to that first part of tonight's Q&A with those questions. Like, just enjoy your food. Just enjoy your food today around the eating. Like, do you actually enjoy it when you do things that you're not motivated about? And actually, sometimes when you're not feeling motivated, what does that actually mean? Is that just the monkey on your shoulder using that as a story to go, you're not motivated, so you must eat this? What happens if we still get that thought that we're not motivated, but we can just do the things we know we need to do to feel better, get more energy, get up and down from the floor easy, get more flexible, be stronger, be fitter, be healthier, improve our cholesterol, do that independent of whether we feel motivated or not. That's the secret. Doing it, even if you can act differently, right? We've all had a thought before of going, oh, I really feel like doing that, but I'm not going to do it. We've all done that before, so why can't we do it with motivation? Motivation often comes after doing. So if you're struggling with feeling motivated to eat better regardless, then give yourself permission to be demotivated after that. Because often the doing comes before the motivation. So eat better, commit to that. The next meal, you're going to eat great, lots of nutritious food. Then give yourself permission to go on demotivated. See how you go. Maggie, are all calories equal? Set myself 1,200 a day, was eating fruit, as thought healthy, but reminder says I'm eating too much sugar. How much sugar and fat per meal? Good evening, Sandra. So all calories technically are equal on the face of it. So a calorie is a calorie. When you eat certain nutrients, there is some evidence that obviously, like I just said, protein, and not many of us eat enough, really, especially as we age, especially as perimenopause, menopause. As we age, we tend to lose more muscle, we tend to need more protein to get the same response as we did when we were younger. And it's one of the nutrients that we tend to go off a little bit more than others as well, for a variety of reasons, like anecdotally more so. So we've got to consider, if you're on 1,200 a day and you're getting results, doing what you're doing, I'd ignore what it says about eating too much sugar if it's coming from fruit. If you wanted a recommendation, I would say worry more about protein first at each meal. So say you're on 1,200 a day and you wanted, 400 calories a meal to keep it simple. You'd want, if you can, about 30 grams of protein at that meal. And then whatever you want with the fats and the carbs can make up whatever they want. Because remember, if you're sticking to 1,200 calories a day, I wouldn't worry about the sugar and fat at a meal, because you're only eating 1,200 calories a day. So there's only so much fat and sugar you can eat at a meal if you're only having 1,200 calories a day. So this is where you've got to consider, like, big picture. Because yeah, you could say, oh, I just ate so much sugar. But if overall in the day you've had 1,200 calories, did you actually eat a lot of sugar? Probably not, because if you ate a lot of sugar, you'd probably be close to 2,000, 3,000 calories. And if you're getting good amount, like I say, if you're getting good amount of protein at that meal, so you're getting 30 grams of protein at that meal, and over the day, 1,200 calories or so, like you said, you can't really be overeating fat or sugar in that. So within reason, if you're having some vegetables at every meal, protein at every meal, I would focus on the protein first. How can I tell if I'm in the correct starting position for the workouts? The correct starting position for any particular exercise? With that, and it will come with practice, what feels natural. Give me an example of, like, specific exercise would be good. Jill, how to stop my immediate gratification from overriding my long-term goals? I keep saying tomorrow. Do it for today. Just do it for today, because tomorrow doesn't exist. Have that in your head. Do it today. Commit to doing it today. Commit no further than that. What sometimes happens is we just think it will be easier tomorrow. But actually, every time we say tomorrow, it gets a little bit harder. Don't forget that. Margaret, I have no set pattern for eating, no breakfast, and probably have a sandwich at lunchtime if my husband is eating. Evening meal around 6 p.m. I struggle with protein at every meal. Then you'd think I wouldn't have a weight problem, but I'm heavier than I ever have been. So Margaret, on there, let's start by having an eating pattern. Maybe we need to stick to the meal maker, which we'll go over tomorrow, to make sure you're getting that protein at every meal. Maybe at lunchtime, we want to have more of a salads and protein in there as well. And then we want to start adding that resistance exercise in, like we talked about as well. That'd be the first step on there. If you are on the call, and we are ready to rock. Okay. Next one on here. Julie, I've not told anyone I'm starting a healthy eating kickstart, again, as I've started and not finished so many times with different plans over the last 2 years. And I'm worried it might impact my progress. Any tips on how I can get around this? So, as in tips on helping someone, or tips on telling someone, or tips on trying to stick to it this time? As I've started and not finished so many times with different plans over, and I'm worried it might impact my progress. Yeah, like, as in if you tell someone, yeah. So it's a difficult one. I guess when you really think about it, if we're worried that we won't finish it or stick to it, we got to consider what sticking to it actually means. And is this something that we're just putting this false expectation on ourselves that it has to be perfect, when actually sticking to it in the research means that you'll have ups and downs. You'll have times where you struggle. You'll have days where you didn't do what you said you would do. That's okay. It's actually how you respond to it that counts. Even when you look at people who get best results, you look at like their weight graph, it's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You look at people who have long-term weight loss success. It's not just linear. They have times of maintenance, and they don't just go, stopped working now, I'm going to give up. And actually, this is a really important part. And sometimes other people's comments aren't very educated. So there may be people who will go, when I'm on it, I lose like 10 pounds in a week and I just gain it all back again, because then I just go back to normal. And actually, maybe there's this false expectation that we have to be losing all the time for it to be working, when actually working can mean a variety of things. Working could mean when you're going for a stressful time, you're tired, you're busy, and you keep it all off, or you just gain a few pounds but you don't go crazy. That is still working, and that's being fit for your lifestyle. Karen, can you talk about portion sizes and also the 4 o'clock craving where I go wrong? Principles are lower in blood sugars at some point. Yep, so tomorrow in the Q&A will be more around nutrition around that. But in short, the portion control will be covered tomorrow. The 4 o'clock craving, go back to those questions at the start of tonight and answer them in and get those alternatives in. Sue, best food and way to reduce LDL cholesterol as they now recommend level than 2.5. Interesting. So I know, Audrey, you've asked that as well. So in a nutshell, and I'll share, tomorrow night I'll share a bit more on this, but if we can increase our omega-3, fish oil, fishy or oily fish intake, mackerel is a good one, salmon, sardines, pilchards, anything like that. That's very good. Switching saturated fat to more polyunsaturated in general is probably going to be a good thing. So polyunsaturated could be like getting your fats from oily fish, from nuts, things like that. But what I'm not saying here is, I'm not saying add in loads of nuts to your diet, because then obviously it's so easy to overshoot on calories. And this is more specific if you are looking at your cholesterol in a bit more detail. Lots more fibre would be, my number one would be oily fish, of course, mackerel, salmon, etc. You get protein in, you get vitamin D in, it's win-win, good to go. 2, lots more fibre. Fibre binds to cholesterol, quick win. Plant sterols, you can get those yogurts if you want to. Some interesting research on that as well. And then you might want to go down the saturated fat side of things, and switching that for more oily fish from your fat. How do I overcome extreme tiredness, lack of motivation, lack of sleep, and carrying a little bit too much weight all the time? But tomorrow, by the way, cholesterol, diabetes, we'll go in a bit more detail with the meal plans in the evening. So the morning, it will be more general food portions. And then in the evening, we'll get a bit more specific, and I'll share some meal plans as well in terms of cholesterol, blood sugar as well. Liz, how do I overcome extreme tiredness, lack of motivation, lack of sleep, and carrying a little too much weight all happening at the same time? Although I sleep well most of the time, it doesn't seem to make a difference in feeling tired all the time. So what I would say is just slow down a little bit and pick one thing at a time. Remember, the doing comes from, the motivation will come from doing. So maybe you want to get consistent with one thing to start with. So maybe the first one you go with is, I'm going to make sure I exercise every day this week, 10 minutes a day. And I'm going to do it even if I'm tired, even if I'm lacking motivation. Then maybe next week, you then add in something from the sleep, when we cover sleep. And then we'll start adding in one thing at a time. Because quite often it can just be overwhelming then. And if we don't have a plan, if we don't have any structure, then we can expect to be overwhelmed. So much to do, where do I start? Focus on one thing this week and you'll probably feel and be okay with that. So a good week for me would look like committing to the exercise every day. Start there. Sally, how can I stop craving and eating chocolate? I feel like a meal is not finished without something sweet. Me too, craving. Chocoholics. I don't want to stop eating it together, just limit it. Yeah, so we'll cover this tomorrow in a bit more detail, but there's no problem. If you make sure your meals come out lots of nutritious foods, whole foods, lots of vegetables, protein, some good whole grains, nutrition, carbs. What you could look at there is then going, these are my 200-300 calories a day. That could come from chocolate, that could come from cheese, fruit, whatever you want in the evening. And then adding that in every day. And actually when you make that decision and go, that's what I'm having, I only eat, have a little rule, like I only eat what I put in that lunchbox. I only eat what I've planned for today. Today my snack will be, insert here. Sometimes the issue is that we try not to have it. Maureen, any suggestions for increasing fibre at breakfast? I'm gluten and dairy free. I would go for soy yogurt. More on that on one day as well. Soy yogurt instead of dairy. Chuck some seeds in there, maybe some chia seed, flaxseed, and then chuck some berries in there. I like frozen berries, so stir it in, makes it quite cold, they fall quite quickly. Plus berries give you a load of antioxidants as well. Polyphenols, which are great in terms of antioxidants, nutrition and fibre. And bang for your buck in terms of vitamins to sugar ratio as well. That's what I'd recommend on that. Good old scrambled egg, maybe some salmon in there, perfect. Or just scrambled eggs, some mushrooms. Happy with some ketchup if you want to as well. Maybe on a slice of gluten-free sour bread. Sour bread? Yeah, sourdough bread. That's another option there. Get some mushrooms in there, beta-glucan, good fibre. You can go with gluten-free porridge as well. Soy yogurt in there, maybe add in some, soy milk, maybe add in some soy yogurt, dollop at the end. That's another option, some berries in there. Yeah. Perfect. Right, that is actually all of the questions tonight, I believe. Any other questions tonight? Okay. Okay. Awesome, Sandra. Glad you found us in the end. Thank you for coming in. And awesome work. Any other questions at all? Great, Nikki. Yolande, how are we doing? Hope that was helpful. Any questions, as always, let me know. Remember, day 2 tomorrow, nutrition, portion size. We also go over cholesterol, blood sugar levels, and then also it'll be a bit more in depth tomorrow's Q&A. I ask your questions nutrition related as well. Make sure that you apply this. This is the key thing. This is why we're not going to go into too much of nutrition as well. Obviously, we have gone into nutrition, but in terms of specifics tomorrow with this. Awesome, Judy, Steffi. Today's been more around the mindset around cravings, I think, in terms of different alternatives as well. Tomorrow, nutrition focus, building a plan for you in there. We're going to give you lots of some example done for you meal plans, especially in the evening. In the morning will be about portion controls, like digest that, pun intended. Then in the evening, we'll go into a bit more specifics. Right, awesome work. Okay, any questions, just let me know. Awesome, Julie, Sarah, Maggie, and we are ready to rock and roll. Let's see you bright and early. Remember, you can do it on replay, do not worry, if you're not an early bird. But the early birds, see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Enjoy your hot chocolates. And I'll see you later. Cheers, Ella, Kate, and I'll see you later. Take care.